Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
My name is Dyl, and I am super excited to be back here because we get to talk some movies. We're bringing a new series to the show because we don't get to talk about every movie we see on the channel because, we don't only watch Oscar movies. We watch fun movies. We watch different movies. We watch shorts. We watch them all.
Yeah.
So this time, we're going to get to talk about a lot of movies that probably have no real Oscar play for the most part, but were some that we loved, some that we hated. But, that's the joy of seeing movies. Not everything's going to be up your alley, or not everything is, awful either.
What we're trying to do with this new What We've Been Watching series is, make it so that instead of doing one review a week of, one random movie that we saw, we can talk about a lot more, and we'll save those individual videos for stuff like Killers of the Flower Moon, where we see it and we have to talk about just that because it's a huge Oscar player. But here, we get to talk about anything. So we got some old movies, we got some new movies, we got some stuff we would never talk about on the channel before. So we're gonna drop you some recommendations and recommend some stuff to each other because I haven't seen some of the movies that you've seen this week, Dylan, and you have not seen some of the ones that I've seen, and we've seen some of the same ones, and we're probably gonna debate a little bit about them. So, Dylan, what have you been watching this week?
So, I just got back from vacation. I went to Universal's Halloween Horror Nights. This is my second year going. I think it's a blast. If you're into scary stuff, this is kind of up your alley. They always have IPs. They always have original stuff, so it kind of checks off all the boxes. So, I didn't see a lot this week, but when I got back, the first thing I had to rush out to go see, because it's one that we've kind of been memeing here on the channel for a while, but I was actually kind of genuinely interested in this movie. I'm a big Adam McKay fan, so when a movie's giving Adam McKay vibes, I'm like, yeah, I'm down for that. Dumb Money, I don't really know how to feel because I feel like the trailer was kind of like a bait and switch. What that trailer was not what this movie was. And I think that's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. My big takeaway from it was I wanted to be more memey, for lack of words, but instead it was kind of like a drama thriller at some moments with a little comedy sprinkled in, but the comedy didn't really land for me. And I was more into the drama thriller moments, especially the middle third of this movie. I thought was very, very well done.
I was also surprised that Dumb Money was not a comedy. They were selling it as this is The Big Short. It's not The Big Short, it's The Social Network. I was really surprised that it was not that funny. But that doesn't mean it wasn't good or wasn't doing what it was trying to do. It was trying to tell the story of how the system is kind of fucking rigged. On a personal level, I did not have a good time. And all to say, I liked this movie a lot. I was a part of that. I still remember how it felt. I bought into GameStop when it was $7, $8. I remember watching it go from $8 to $15 to $20 and how that felt to be like, oh my God. And I remember how it felt watching it crash down. I made and I lost $50,000 just in the blink of an eye like that. So sitting in the theater, all of those feelings rushed back to me, and it was not a pleasant experience. But it's a very good movie. It's really good, and I think they did it really well. I thought the dialogue was very strong. Paul Dano was pretty good. I liked Seth Rogen in the movie.
Yeah, I thought Seth Rogen was really good in it as well. Paul Dano's kind of interesting. This is his least, meme role in, a few years. Who would have thought his take as the Riddler and Steven Spielberg's dad was more comedic or, fun to watch than him as the guy who helped rise the GameStop stock, whose name is Roaring Kitty.
Or deep fucking value.
Yeah, so that kind of just goes back into, the whole conversation of this not really being a comedy. There are funny moments sprinkled throughout, especially Pete Davidson's character is, the comic relief. Anthony Ramos gets to do some funny stuff, but, America Ferrera, all of the businessmen like Seth Rogen, Vince D'Onofrio, a bunch of them, and then Paul Dano himself don't really get much comedic moments outside maybe a line here or there. That's more just due to their delivery than what they are saying. I guess my big takeaway and I guess my letdown with the movie, I still think this is a good movie. Solid 7 out of 10. But my big takeaway is no one really stole the show.
This movie in general really serviced the story itself rather than trying to be something more than that. Honestly, more of a piece of journalism than it is a comedy. The screenwriters here, they are both journalists. That's where this is their first screenplay, but they've written articles before. It's not trying to be funny. It's funny at times because the situation is kind of funny. But I'd give it an 8 out of 10. So that's for me a very good movie, big surprise, and I'm happy to have this on my Filmball team. So the film that I first want to talk about is a collection of films, which I am going to call a collection of films. I'm not going to say that they're 4 different short films. Wes Anderson made a short film anthology. They are designed to be watched together. For some reason, they were released separately. But I see this as no different than something like The French Dispatch, and that is The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar and 3 More. The title of the book, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar and 6 More. So I'm just going to refer to this whole thing as Henry Sugar and 3 More. And I loved this. For me, this is quintessential Wes Anderson. The main short film, Henry Sugar, is just a visual feast of stunning production design, such visual creativity. The set pieces move in and out, the way that the camera moves to make it feel like it's a stage play, the way that they integrated Roald Dahl's text. This film is incredible. And not to mention the other 3 short films, The Swan, which I think is good. It's not as good as Henry Sugar. Same with The Ratcatcher, also good. It's my least favorite of the 4. But then there's Poison, in the past adapted by Alfred Hitchcock into a short film. That makes sense. But I've never seen Wes Anderson do something other than comedy, and Poison is a full-on thriller. I was shook by this movie. It is so tense. Overall, I guess what I feel about Henry Sugar and the other short films, it cements in my mind that Wes Anderson is a filmmaker that we should be talking about on the same level as some of these classic filmmakers that get their films on the Sight and Sound top 1000 list, like Max Ophuls or Ernst Lubitsch. These very visual filmmakers of the past, of the classic era. Wes Anderson is carrying the torch, and he is making films unlike anyone else is making movies. I would give this whole collection a 10 out of 10. What the hell is wrong with you, Dylan? Why didn't you like it?
I mean, there's a lot wrong with me, but at least your main point there of how they all go together, I've only watched the first one. I didn't really have much of a draw to continue. I agree. It's very well shot, very great production design, costumes, immaculate, all things Wes Anderson does in every one of his movies. But you see this as quintessential Wes Anderson. I'm not really a big Wes Anderson fan out of like 2, maybe 3 movies. I thought the dialogue here was painfully boring and it took me out. I think the actors are doing a good job. I just could not find myself connecting with the story. How you talked about that last one, Poison, about it being a thriller, that makes me want to at least dive back into it. Maybe I'll skip 2 and 3 and go straight to 4. But at least my big takeaway from Wonderful Life of Henry Sugar, the first one, was very well made. Technically, I couldn't really connect with the story, and I kept finding myself wanting to look at my phone, and I never do that while watching stuff. There's movies where I'll give a 2 or 3 to like, this is awful, like Fast X, but I don't look away. Like this one, I just kept finding myself turning my head, just not focusing on what was in front of me.
Maybe it's the style of how the script was literally just Roald Dahl's text. They were saying the dialogue and the narration and everything might just not be the right writing style for you. On a personal level, I think that Wes Anderson and Roald Dahl just go together so well. But you saw Saw X. Now, I have seen Saw, the original. It's the only Saw movie that I've seen, and I want to know the answer. Can I see Saw X without seeing any of the other Saw movies except for the first one?
I think you can watch any Saw movie without seeing even a previous installment. Would it help to see the other ones? Yeah, but I feel like the stories are so self-contained anyway that you can really just get into the plot and keep going. If you are like a completionist, you really want to know the plot going into each one. Saw X technically takes place after Saw 1, but before Saw 2. So really, all you need is the first Saw, but still, I think this one stands on its own. The thing I think is most interesting about Saw X is how it kind of just flips what you think of these movies into something completely different. Without diving too much into spoilers, the first 30 minutes of this movie is not a Saw movie. You're following John Kramer as he goes to the hospital, then he tries to get help for his cancer, and to where he thinks he's getting the help for his cancer. And then the rest of the movie is kind of like the Saw movies we know. It kind of is more of a return to form. It's not like, oh, you're going from one building to the next. It's all self-contained. It's in this one building, and I think it's very well done. I don't think it's better than the original. I think the original Saw is one of the best horror movies of all time, but this one was very, very good. I would give it a solid 8. This may be Tobin Bell's best performance in all of these movies. He's not just a side character. He is the lead. It's a little long. Doesn't need to be nearly 2 hours, but that's my only real knock against it. The traps were all very well made. They made sense for what they were on trial for, and I really like the deep dive into John Kramer's mindset and how he is trying to fight to stay alive as what he tries to make everyone in his games do.
I liked Saw. I was surprised at how much I liked the first one, but I'm not brave enough to go into the other ones. I'm sure they're not as bad as I expect them to be, because the first one was not as bad as I expected it to be.
I think the franchise gets a lot of extra, like, knock against it that's overtly gory. I think there's definitely moments where it's that, but I don't think the movies are 24/7 bloodbaths.
I'm not going to go see Saw X in theaters, because I know I would be so uncomfortable, but I will watch it when it comes out. But I went and saw with my dad, I brought him to see Stop Making Sense in IMAX, the greatest concert movie of all time.
We'll see if you saw that statement in another 3 weeks. I'm sure the internet was like, what do you mean?
No.
The new greatest concert movie's coming out in 3 weeks? It's in 3 weeks.
Eras is not going to come close to Stop Making Sense. What makes it, I think, a perfect concert movie, it captures the essence of what makes the Talking Heads unique and different. That's in the movie. It's a stripped back approach. We barely see the audience in it. It's us and the band. And every once in a while, we'll get a glimpse of the audience, but we're not focusing on their experience. It starts off with one guy on stage with an acoustic guitar, and the next song, you get another band member. Now there's just 2 of them on stage. Then there's 3, then there's 4, and progressively the whole band comes together, and the stage goes from completely bare to having these lights and these screens at the background that are flashing, and more instruments coming in, and not just that, like, it gets silly at times. The dancing is ridiculous. David Byrne is a very odd moving, very odd looking guy. The music is great, and it's just non-stop fun the entire time. The people in front of me, I've never seen someone have more fun at a movie. They were like air drumming the entire time, and like I thought they were gonna get up and dance. And I wish I could have got up and danced. And I do actually recommend you should see Stop Making Sense, Dylan. I think you'd like it even if you don't know anything about Talking Heads. It is the concert movie, and I think the genre of concert movies would not be what it is without Stop Making Sense.
Definitely. If I find the time, I'll definitely seek out to venture it. And we still have about 4 movies to talk through, but I'm going to speed through my last 2. The first one's would be Haunting in Venice. The third, Hercule Poirot, Kenneth Branagh movie. Murder on the Orient Express, pretty good movie. I know it gets a lot of hate online. I think it's pretty good, and it's very entertaining, and I think that's what those movies should be. Death on the Nile, it's not that. And then Haunting in Venice kind of combines both of those, but also goes in a completely third direction. It basically changes the horror formula and the style of direction and filmmaking. Kenneth Branagh really is trying some interesting angles, cinematography, production elements, sound design in this movie, and it's, I think, the most well-made movie of the bunch. Is it my favorite of the 3? Maybe not, but I think this is the best of the 3. Branagh's really come into this character, like you can tell, like he is giving his all as Hercule Poirot, and the ensemble here is pretty good. Everyone kind of serves their role well. There's characters I wish who had more screen time. The little Belfast reunion of Branagh, Jamie Dornan, and Jude Hill was nice to see. Jude Hill showed that, hey, he's not just a one-trick pony. He's just not the cute kid. He can add some drama. He can add some serious moments. Tina Fey, if you've seen Only Murders in the Building, kind of plays a take on that character, just at a little bit different angle. So that was kind of fun to see. Like, oh yeah, it's that type of performance. Overall, my highlight of this movie has to be the sound work. I felt so engrossed. This is being marketed as kind of a horror movie, kind of not. But the sound design really engrossed you into the story. Am I going to rush out to see it again? Probably not. But if I have an hour 40 to kill, there's a lot worse options than you can go.
I didn't really like Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down. It's a Pedro Almodovar film, and I find Almodovar's really hit or miss. And this one, it had gorgeous colors. It looks great. Antonio Banderas is pretty good in it, but it's a pretty gross movie. I'm not a huge fan of when films are about kidnapping romances. It's weird. I know this isn't advocating for a kidnapping romance, but it's very much a melodrama centered around people falling in love during a kidnapping. It wasn't for me. The music, though, is so good, and I heard a little bit of If Beale Street Could Talk in there. At times, I was like, ooh, did Nicholas Britell rip this? But overall, Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, not one of my favorite Almodovar movies, not one of my least favorite Almodovar movies. That still probably goes to Strange Way of Life.
To continue on the list of movies that we maybe weren't the biggest fans of, earlier today I saw My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. And a 3 might be my rating for this movie. I don't know how you make Greece look ugly, but somehow they made Greece look not that beautiful. And it was really boring, and it felt a lot longer than like 80 minutes long is how long this movie is. And it felt like it was 2 hours. I don't know. I didn't see My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2, but I saw the the first one. The first one's fun. This one was just fine. I know it's not made for me. It's made for a different type of audience. I'm just not that audience. But I guess for the record, Mamma Mia 1 is like one of my favorite movies of all time. Mamma Mia 2 is one of my favorite sequels of all time. So, like, I get the appeal. Just this is not
3 out of 10. This is a recommendation for you and for anyone out there who hasn't seen this. I just watched Dogfight. It's a 90s romance movie, and it was adapted into a musical, but this is the movie it was based on. It stars River Phoenix during the Vietnam War, and it follows a group of soldiers who, before shipping out again, they organize a dogfight party. All of the soldiers have to go out into the town, find the ugliest girl that they can find, convince her to go on a date with them, and bring her to this dance. The soldier that brings the ugliest woman wins a prize. The story follows Eddie Birdlace, who's played by River Phoenix. He links up with this woman, and he ends up actually thinking she's incredibly kind, and he ends up developing feelings for her. As he walks with her to this dance, he realizes that he doesn't want to bring her in, but she insists on going in, and she figures out what it is. And the rest of the movie is the two of these people walking around through the night and talking. It's a very before sunrise type movie. It just melted my heart. It's tender. It starts off with the core concept of this movie is so hurtful, but where it goes with it is so tender and soft and genuinely romantic. I love this film. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. I highly recommend it. If anyone out there listening has not seen Dogfight, put it on your list. It is so good. If you like Before Sunrise, this is for you. I also saw The Creator, which I'm not going to talk about because I know you're going to see it next week, so we can both talk about it next week. But yeah, this was a pretty good week for me. I saw a couple of movies that I absolutely loved and a couple of movies that I was like, whatever.
Well, everyone out there, let us know what movies you saw this past week. Maybe it was something that you loved, like Dogfight, like Saw X, or something that you thought was really bad, like My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 or Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down. We would love to hear what movies you watch and what stuff is coming out soon that you're super interested for. But until next time, my name is Dyl.
And my name is Matt, and this is Fantasy Filmball.